Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here, Patrick Reusse with me. I finally had to push the record button, Patrick. We were having too much fun before we started the show. But
Yes.
lots to get to, obviously. You are working furiously on Turkey of the Year stuff. That'll come out, of course, on Thanksgiving. Everybody looks forward to that. Not to see who makes the cut this year. I don't know if anybody in recent times does, but there were some candidates this weekend, I do believe, because there was a lot that happened. We'll start with the Vikings, the only team that really won, and they tried their hardest not to in the final 30 seconds of regulation. They were up 27-16, Patrick, with 25 seconds
I
left, and
know.
somehow managed to get to overtime.
It was,
Impressive still that they got the job done at that point, though.
yes, it was, but it was phenomenal because I was kind of not paying attention, and all of a sudden
Right,
I went out and because they got the game won, and I was not
right.
paying attention. Went upstairs and came back down, and all of a sudden they're kicking a field goal to tie
Yes,
the game. So on the YouTube TV, you can go back and look at key plays. And I said,
yes,
what happened here? And
yes.
yeah, it was phenomenal because even on that last drive, which wasn't really a drive, they were going nowhere. Well, they third down, the Bears weren't
It was a
doing
fourth
anything.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bears, and all of a sudden they hit the long pass, and Caleb Williams. I think if he gets his head a little straighter, he's going to be pretty good.
He's
He
got
can
talent.
move a little bit. That throw he made down the sidelines earlier to when he was in the dead run and just lobbed
Oh,
it down there on the right
to
sideline.
Swift. Yeah, yeah.
That was one of the best throws I've ever seen, and so he was pretty good. But the Bears were all fired up, and they had the new offensive coordinator and blah blah blah, and the Vikes had it completely in their command. And I'll give them credit. They blow that lead in incredible circumstance. I wonder if in their history have they ever blown an 11-point lead that late? Probably not.
Probably
And
not.
I can't remember it. And then they come back and win anyway, because first of all, the defense puts the Bears in about what, fourth and 50 or something,
Yeah.
30 or something, and then fourth and 16. So they got to punt. They'd love not to, but they have to punt. And then they go straight down the field. You told me Darnold was 6 out of 6 for 90 yards on that
Six
drive.
of six for 90 yards on the drive, including, a couple of second and longs, a third and 10. I mean, he made some big time throws all day, but especially on that drive.
And he had a really good day all day because they tried to take Jefferson out of the game, so he just threw the ball to Addison and Hawkinson, and
Yeah.
Hawkinson made a big impact coming back. Hopefully, he'll stay healthy for 10 minutes here, and but it was they figured it out, man. I was thinking, you know, man alive, they've used up a lot of their luck. But then I think about it, they didn't really, because the two previous games that they won that were much closer than they should have been, they dominated them
Right.
completely as far as so
Right.
they haven't really used up a lot of that. And they dominated yesterday except for
Yeah.
40 seconds or something.
Right.
So they haven't really used up their luck like they did 2 years ago. They used up all their luck with those
Yes. Right.
11
22. Yeah.
comebacks, but I don't think they've used. I think they're this good. I think they've been this. I mean, you get off to the 5-0 start in your alleged toughest part of your schedule. It's going to be hard not to have a good year. But man, alive, this is now you're home for 3 games. You might lose once, right? So you're 11-3. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's you might lose once. Well, you thought maybe Arizona was going to come in here and be a challenge, and then they got 6 points yesterday.
Yes.
So Kyler Murray reverted to Kyler Murray. So it's who knows? They're going to. Detroit's lost one. When is the last time 9-2 wasn't good for at least a tie for first
I
place
know.
in the NFC
Well,
North? That's
and
amazing.
and right behind them, Packers are 8-3 now and
Yes,
ascending. I mean, you got to figure all three of those teams are gonna make
in
the
the playoffs.
playoffs, and
Yes.
it's something I still don't. I think this isn't like 22, but they're kind of like they're flirting with. I don't think they're playing their best right now, but there's something about them. They've got some sort of belief or fortitude or I mean, there's skill too. They got a lot of guys like they just got better players than a lot of these teams. So in these key moments, these kind of weighty downs, as Kevin O'Connell likes to call them, they are able to make these plays. Like Grenard gets the sack on Williams yesterday in overtime to kind of get that thing going. But Darnold is still the key to all this, and man, he's really had two bounce back games here where everyone's like, oh, should they bench him after that Jacksonville game? He's something about this. I don't. Let's just say I don't think Kirk Cousins goes 6 of 6 for 90 yards on that overtime drive yesterday after everything that had preceded it. Let's just say that.
Yes, that's true. I think they probably were fortunate almost that they didn't get the ball for the start of overtime. That they had a chance to send their defense out there and make the Bears punt, and it kind of because if you're running off the sidelines offensively after blowing that lead, there
Yeah.
you're a little you got to be a little nervous here. We better move us. We're gonna because these guys are gonna go right down the field, but you go out there and I think they have more defenders than they've had in a long
Oh,
time.
geez.
They,
Yes.
they had big play guys, and they had some. They played stupid defense with Donatell, but they got more options, more guys that can make plays for them back there. Now the old cornerbacks fall. Stephen Gilmore's chasing guys around a little more than you'd like him to, but they're they got a lot of players on defense, and they got the right guy coaching them. And I don't see a lot of flaws here. They aren't an overpowering, overwhelming team, but they got a chance to end up going to Detroit at the end of the season. And if you win that game, you're going to win the division, right?
Yeah.
Probably be the number one seed in
Yes.
the
Yeah.
NFC and not have to play the first week. So
Right.
Detroit didn't look their usual great self the last yesterday. They made it easy 24-6, but they didn't light it up like they have and against a bad team and Colts the week before they had 5 turnovers. So they got the run they've been on has been pretty phenomenal, and they got to be a little disappointed that they win every week and they're still only one game ahead of the Vikings.
I was just thinking the Vikings haven't been the 1 seed since '98. They've been the 2 seed plenty, and back when the 2 seed meant you also got a bye.
Got to
They were
buy
the two
right,
seed
yeah.
in 2000, 2009, 2017. Like all those years they went to the NFC title game and lost on the road. They were the 2 seed. But yeah, they haven't been the 1 seed for a long time. And yeah, it means a lot now. Obviously, that's a huge difference
Yes,
not
you
to
don't have
play
to
that
play. You
first
get
weekend.
healthy. You get healthy. But the other thing is, this NFC isn't like it was in 2000 when Denny had a 10-6 team or something, 11-5
11 and
team that
5, yeah, 11 and
wasn't
5. That
that good.
that lost their
Was not
last
that.
three, I think, and
Yeah,
still
yeah. I mean, they
hung in
limped
there.
in. I'll never forget Sid coming back into the office and telling us he'd never seen. He had a private sit down with Denny before that game,
The
sometime in the
Giants
middle
game,
of that
yeah.
week, and saying, "I've never seen him that confident. They're certain they're going to win." 41-0,
41
unbelievable.
donut. Let's just
41-0.
let's just say I don't think a Kevin O'Connell team would lose 41
No,
nothing either.
I
These
don't
guys
think.
these guys don't get blown out generally. I mean, they
No.
play. I mean, every game. I mean, partly because 90% of the games they play are one score games. It seems like, but win or lose, I mean, they've had a few blowout wins this year, but there is something about them. They don't tend to lose big. They tend to find a way to stay in the game. They don't get down on themselves, and
What was
I don't know.
our
It counts for a lot.
who was the guy? Was it was O'Connell and pretty much said, let's get Darnold in here to hold the fort until McCarthy's ready to
I
play.
think
Is that
so. I think he
was
liked him.
that
Yeah,
basically him?
yeah,
Okay. What whoever did that, there's some talent there. He's going to get a job. He won't be
yes,
here, but he's going to get a job someplace. I mean, he turns it over. He had a couple of games where he turned it over,
yeah,
and all of a sudden, oh, he can't play. There he is, the
right.
old Sam Darnold. He's a talented athlete.
Yeah,
So,
he's got
you
21
know,
touchdowns, 10 interceptions, but you go game by game, 10 of his 12 games this year, he's had a passer rating over 100. I mean,
yes,
You
Yeah.
can't, it's pass rating's not everything because you got some garbage time stats mixed in there, but even like the advanced stats, he tends to be right around that 12 to 15 range in the NFL for quarterbacks. That's about where Cousins was every year, and you're paying him a quarter of what you were paying Kirk Cousins. So I think
One
that's been amazing what they've gotten out of him.
one thing about being old and knowing the NFL from when we first got a team, the idea that 10 interceptions is a lot is not
It's
is not the world I grew up in. Fran had 32 one
oh
year,
my
and
gosh.
they
Yeah.
used to it used to be as good as a punt. What the heck? We
Right.
don't worry about it.
Just keep it
We
down
didn't
there.
worry about it. I mean, Tommy Kramer. Uh, he had, didn't he? He was in the 20s or some years
Oh, I'm
there, I
sure.
think.
Yeah, well, it's
So,
just different kind
you
of
just
passing games.
you
Yeah.
flung it around. And, well, the funny thing about Tark having 32 is their passing game was thrown at the meat of the TV over the room here, that he's still, because Chuck Foreman slip him onto the side and throw him
Right.
a 7-yard pass and let him run with it. It wasn't like they were throwing bombs down the field. And, his last year, I believe, 78, I believe he had 32. I might be
Oh my
wrong.
gosh,
So,
that's a lot. I'm just
yeah,
looking up
it's,
Kramer right now. He
uh,
had Tommy had a year when he led the league, I think, with 26
yeah,
interceptions in
26. Now,
1985.
if some guy was averaging two a game, they wouldn't let him play after about week three. Now we really
No,
worry about those
I just
interceptions.
did. Jameis Winston, like 4 or 5 years ago, had
Yeah.
30, and everyone just went nuts because it
Yes.
was like nobody can
Yes.
throw 30 interceptions in the modern NFL. But yeah, no,
Anyway,
yeah, 15's a lot these days. It
okay.
seems like.
I think the most embarrassing thing that happened yesterday, though, was losing an onside kick, which is
Oh, supposed to. Yes,
virtually impossible in the modern game when you have to tell them ahead of time that
yes,
you're an onside kick and you can't kick it long. So they got
no,
11 guys within eight
right,
yards of the line.
right.
And one of our guys runs charging up there, Johnny Munt, and lets it hit
Johnny
him in the
Munt
leg. And
hit him in the leg. Yep.
but it's I gotta admit that the Turkey Committee's looking closely at the new NFL kickoff rule,
Oh,
which I
geez.
think is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, uh, yeah, that was hard to do. I mean, they're lining up for an onside kick, and you don't even think about a lot watching it because you know they're
No,
not going to lose it. And all of a sudden, they lose the ball, and was that ball going to make it 10 yards if he didn't touch it?
I don't know.
It might have
It was it was
stopped.
it was pretty well executed because it kind of had that kind of like weird sideways spin
Yes.
on it. So it was
Yeah.
it was a pretty effective one. It was kind of like heading towards the 10 yards in the corner. But yeah, I mean, he's just trying to block somebody. The weird thing is I've had this weird idea for like a different kind of onside kick for a while now. Maybe it would work better now. So instead of like doing this little like squib that's going to bounce all over the place or bounce high, what if you just tee it up and let the kicker kick it as hard as he can right at somebody? Try to
Yeah, that's.
try to drill somebody with the ball and then go get it.
I wonder if that. I wonder if that's doable. But yeah, line drives are definitely. They got to have two or three guys up there with bad hands, right? That you can try to kick it
Well,
at. So,
yeah, you get like 4 or 5 guys all clustered in the same spot. It's like make it like dodgeball. Just try to hit them as hard as you can and go get the ball afterwards. I don't know,
it
but
is
they
amazing
executed
how
it. Yeah.
It is amazing how many things the NFL does that are stupid. They let the officials go crazy calling this pre-start penalties,
Oh, geez, yeah.
and they let and they take away the kickoff, and they do that. And it doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't
Everybody
make a difference.
watches
We
it
keep
anyway.
watching it.
They
Yep.
can do anything they want to, and
They,
we're still going to watch a lousy, rotten Thursday night football game
well, yeah,
is going to any lousy Thursday
yeah.
night football game is still going to. Now I don't know which is the one that's on Amazon. Is that Thursday
That's
night now?
Thursday. Yeah, that last week's was pretty good. The one in the snow with the Philadelphia or Pittsburgh and Cleveland. But yeah, generally those are terrible games. Those are
And
terrible usually.
do they because it's Amazon? Do they do lower numbers or not? Or do they do huge numbers
I haven't
on?
seen that. I mean, they probably do slightly lower numbers, but a lot of people have that now because they either have Amazon Prime or they've had to get it to get the football game they want. But it's also still on in the local markets on regular
Oh, that's
TV.
right. Yeah, they do
So
do the
they have to
local
show
TV.
that. So they can't
Anyway,
black it out locally. But I don't know.
get
They're
used
nine
to
and
it, ladies and gentlemen. By the way,
yes.
by
Well,
about
there was
3 years, half your games are going to be on streaming. So
isn't Christmas game on Netflix this year? There
two of
wasn't, and
them,
they yeah, and they
two of them
tested
on
a.
Christmas.
Hopefully, they get the streaming a little bit better since the Tyson Paul fight because that sounded like a lot of people were pretty upset about the
They
streaming
should have
on
been
that.
upset about the product and not the
Well, that's that too.
God Almighty. That's like you and I having a boxing match. It would have been. It would have been. You would have had quickness on me, but man, alive. That's stupid. I did a thing on Sunday on us. Well, we don't have any boxing anymore here
Oh
because
yeah,
of the Amazon
right.
Showtime bailing out and Amazon taking over. And Amazon doesn't care about any of the secondary cards. So anyway, that's
Yeah,
another issue. Anyway, the Vikings, huh? Nothing to
nine and
complain
two.
about. Nine and
No,
two,
nine and
nothing to
two.
complain about.
No, the style points aren't
O'Connell's
always there.
it's going to be hard to beat Campbell. It is Campbell the coach of the year last year?
I
Did
think
he
he
win it last year?
was. I think he
Yeah.
was, but
He
he's
and
doing it
he and
again.
he and O'Connell are going to end up in a contest again. It was
Yeah.
funny. I did see a good clip on Campbell for when he was an assistant,
Hmm.
and it was, I mean, chewing a guy out on the sidelines, but not just screaming and hollering, giving him actual things he was supposed to be doing that he didn't
Yeah.
do. It wasn't
Okay.
just saying, don't be a dummy. And it was,
Right.
he came off as sharper than he
Yeah.
does when he's ranting on the
Right.
sideline. So, but
Well,
it's a phenomenon what he's done with that
what
team.
is
There's no doubt
yeah,
about it.
he's changed their whole approach. I mean, they were damn close to being in the Super Bowl last year. If they hadn't
Yes.
blown that lead, what would they have 24-7 and couldn't hold that lead, something like that? And
They're going to
I
be at
bet
home for it this year, the way it
yeah,
looks. And
I think
boy,
they're the best they're
I
the
can
best
see,
team.
I can look though, having been to many Lions games and watched
Hmm.
them lose many, many times. I can see that poor Lions crowd sitting there after they get beat in the NFC title game
Oh
by
yeah,
somebody, just sitting there, not being able to leave
right.
their seats.
Gu-
It's going to be bad.
Guess it wasn't our year after all. Again, right? Let's move on because the Vikings were about the only team that won anything. The Gophers miss a chance. I
Oh
mean, they
man.
were right in that game. They just too many plays where they have a chance to take a lead with they got it down there first and goal, had to kick a field goal. They got a bunch of fourth down plays. They can't stop Penn State. Penn State goes for the fake punt, gets it. That
What
kind of
they had, they made it on fourth down three different times
three
on that
times on
last
that last
drive
drive.
to
Yeah, they
kill
never
the
got the ball
time,
back.
kill the
Never got
clock.
the ball
Yeah.
back. Yeah. So
Well, pretty gutsy by Franklin going for it
yes,
on his own 32, right?
yes,
Not
it was a
punting
fourth
to
and
him.
one. So, but yeah,
Yes,
yeah, you,
I,
yeah,
I
you,
just thought I thought he'd line up and go for it, but they went to the fake punt, and we got suckered in, which surprises
right.
me because you got to guess that there might be a fake coming there. And I don't know, Viking Gopher fans very upset about that pass interference call in the first half that was probably questionable, but they can always point to one play and
There's
say this
always
is why we
something. Yeah.
lost. But yeah, it's I mean, right now this team turned out to have, to me, they had a lot more talent this year than I thought they did. Now they
Yes,
got
I agree.
Taylor back, but they had guys on. They got that Lindenberg, the linebacker, back,
Yeah.
but they had pretty good talent this year, way better than last year, obviously, because and a quarterback turned out to be pretty good, Brosmer,
Yes.
although they were ripping him after the game on Gopher Hole. So I don't know what they expect from a guy from New Hampshire, but he played pretty good for him. And if you go down to Wisconsin and lose, and I don't think you will because Wisconsin's terrible, but you end up 6-6.
Yeah.
This would be a bad year to. There was more talent here.
Yeah.
You were better than North Carolina, and you got beat. You
Yes.
weren't better than Penn State. You gave them a good,
No.
you gave them a hell of a
Right.
game. But I was turned out to be mediocre as could be, and you
Yes.
let them beat you bad at home.
Right. Second
And then you
half.
had the 4-game winning streak, and you go to Rutgers.
Yeah.
This year is already kind of a flop, and it's if you end up losing to Wisconsin, that would really be a flop. And to go 6-6, I don't
Yeah.
think we'll be able to give him his traditional $500,000 raise after this year. Do you think?
Yeah. You got to beat Wisconsin to feel good about this season. To be, you get to seven
I
and
don't even think
five.
you feel that good
You
about
feel
it.
better about yourself. Let's say that you
Yeah.
feel better about yourself at that
But
point.
the Chip was very upset, I know, and he's a pretty good football guy, and about this trying to throw it to a 335-pound
Oh,
lineman
geez. All right. Yeah.
on 2nd and 8 down there on the goal line. You're going to fool him.
Right.
I don't know. And then what do you think about kicking a field goal on 4th and 8? I guess with
It's
5 minutes
not.
to go. I guess you got to.
Yeah, it's not bad. It bothers me more if it gets you to like a 4 point deficit, but it gets you to
Yes,
one. So then it's just you got a good kicker,
and
and
you
so if
did
you can
have
get the
enough. You did have
yeah
enough pressure on him that they had to go
yes
for it on fourth
right
down 3 different times. If you
yeah it
stop once, Franklin's telling you he wasn't 100% sure that his vaunted defense could stop the Gophers from
no
kicking a field goal. And when
right
that Kesich, if you get to their 40, if you get to their 40, you're going to win a game. Probably.
right
He lost the North Carolina game for him, but he does have a big
right
leg. So,
yeah I think it
yeah.
was probably the right move, just didn't work. I think it was
Yeah.
probably the right idea, just didn't work.
But the biggest surprise to me was you didn't sell it out. They announced
No,
44,000.
no,
Penn State at home. You only
yep.
have 4 Big Ten home games. What the heck?
It's getting a little chilly out there. Maybe
Oh
that's
my goodness!
I know we're
My
not the same.
goodness,
We're not the hardy Minnesota crowd we used to be. We've
that's
been
right.
spoiled for years and years, decades of inside football. It's people get to
Yeah,
November and they're like, I could probably watch this on TV. I don't need to go to this one.
yeah. I presumed that they would be sold out, and they probably have had they beat Rutgers. They probably would have been.
Yeah,
I don't. Well, it wasn't.
right.
It was 40 degrees. That's as good
Yeah,
as
it
you're
wasn't
going to
that bad.
do on
No, it wasn't
November,
that bad.
whatever it is. But
Right.
yeah, that would have given him something to brag about. That's for sure. And if they beaten Penn State, and they've had some nice wins against Penn State, and
Yes.
Mace's greatest win
Oh
was
yeah.
winning down at Penn State when they were
Yes.
what, 1 or 2 in the country,
I think
right?
they're
Penn
yeah.
State
Yeah.
might have
I
been
think
one.
was that the game where Nystrom kicked the winning field goal at the end?
Yes,
I think it
yes,
was.
right. Yeah, and we also had the wasn't that where Chip didn't Chip was that where Chip won a game too? Or did Chip
I
earlier?
thought
Was that Penn State or was that
I thought that
Ohio
was I
State?
thought that was Michigan.
Michigan. You're right. That was
Yeah.
Michigan. I keep
But
forgetting there was. But yeah, it was. It could have been a great win that he'd still be bragging about, but it didn't work out that way. And I've said all year, and I'm not saying I sit down and watch minutes and minutes of
yeah.
Penn State football, but I saw them a few times, and
Hmm.
they don't look like the number 4 team in the country to me.
Right.
They're just not
Right.
explosive offensively, pretty good defense, but they obviously belong in a playoff. But I don't
Right.
see them. I don't see them winning a game. So
No. No. Do we count that as a moral victory? Because that would be 2 moral victories this weekend. Because I guess the Wolves got a moral victory last night against the Celtics. They
a
only
little
lost
hard
by
to get
two.
them.
We're calling it a moral victory.
The
I
only
guess I
reason
read
it's a
they.
moral victory was because you stunk so bad in
Yes.
Toronto the
Yes.
previous game and had dissension. Every time that happens, Mike, I remember the late great Gus Young coaching the
Okay.
Pipers.
Oh boy.
The 68, 69, they fired the
Okay.
coach, got fired, Jim Harding, and there was a pretty good reason they fired him. He got drunk at the All-Star game and punched the owner, which
Whoops.
was,
Don't do that.
that was a great team to. I never covered them much because I was still covering high schools in St. Paul then, but Fowler and Johnny Rowe and those guys were covering
Okay.
it, and they told the story. But Jim Harding, I think somebody named, what was that guy's, the owner? Oh, Gabe Rubin, and they were,
Oh man.
they
Hmm.
were at the ABA All-Star game, and I think
Yeah.
the Pipers had the best record, and Jim Harding was the coach, but they were arguing in a they had a hospitality room,
Okay.
and Jim Harding, who was crazy, punched the owner, So he got fired, and Gus Young, who used to be the coach at Gustavus, was their
Okay.
promotions guy, and they
Okay.
named Gus the coach. And
Just right
Gus
on the
was an
spot.
entertainer.
Oh, geez.
He became the coach, and he was not quite equipped to coach Chico Vaughn and Connie Hawkins and
My
these high
gosh.
personalities, and Artie Heyman, who was nuts, from the Duke guy, who was crazy. And anyway, one day they lose a game, and the Rowe and Fowler, these guys are going to the press, they'll go to the locker room, and Gus
Hmm.
stands in front of the locker room and says, "You can't go in here. We have dissension in here." I could I could see Finchie in front of the locker
Oh.
room up in Toronto saying, "You
uh,
can't come in here. We have dissension in here."
give give us 10
We
minutes. We got to get our story straight.
Ah, I don't know. Julius don't fit right now, man. The ball
No,
stops. I don't know. It's
no,
I don't know if they'll get it straightened out or not. They're still, they got a lot of talent, but
we got a lot of
I
talent, a lot of time. I want. I wanted to believe this trade was the right thing. I still probably think it was, just because I was never a big
yeah.
cat guy. But I can admit that the fit is bad right now, and DiVincenzo's not
Well,
giving him
I think
everything he could. And
one of the problems is he's not making shots, and
yeah,
you know what else? He's not as he's not making shots. He's not getting good shots.
no,
With the Knicks, he kind of got him in the flow, and
right,
here it's almost like, well, I've been come down the court 3 times in a row. I haven't got a shot, so I'm just going to shoot
right,
one.
right,
He's covered. He's not shooting them, and to me, he's not shooting them in open,
right.
situations, and yeah, they got to get him going, and they got to figure out how to use him. I thought maybe with him and Randall knew how to
Hmm.
use each other, but I'm not sure
Hmm.
about that. So,
No,
and Rudy's a different cat to play with because you can. I don't know. They would seem like one of their plans this year was to post him up a little more and try to feed him the ball down there,
yeah,
and that's what started the big incident in Toronto.
right.
But
Wouldn't throw him the ball.
but
Yeah.
you still go out and get blown out by one of the. Here's the thing, Mike, and I said this last week. They played an easy schedule so far, and
Yes.
they're 8-8. They
Yes, I know.
played
That's
Portland 3 times, Toronto twice, a
yeah,
couple other walkover type games.
yeah. Some
The
East teams
NBA,
that aren't
you
very
can't
good.
lose those walkover games
No.
because the good teams are going to beat you when you're on the road. So 99 times out of 100, and I don't know. They're just. They got issues. They got Dillingham got to play some, so
Yeah, he played
and
better. That was good.
played better. I don't think he can play any defense, but they got to do something. Meanwhile, my guy Terrence Shannon tearing it up down in Iowa.
Yes.
They want,
Yes.
we got a juggernaut down in Iowa because
Yeah.
none of these guys are getting any minutes up here. So I don't know.
No.
I haven't been impressed with Finchie so far this year.
No,
Have
I
you?
haven't either. He doesn't like too much structure. He likes to like kind of let the offense flow, but might need to tighten it up a little bit. Play, start calling a few more plays, start getting these guys into getting some into more defined roles. Doesn't seem like anybody really quite knows what they should be doing out there. Everybody's just little
Well, you know
mismatched
what
parts
the
out there.
big problem is? They don't
Hmm.
shoot that well. Jaden
No,
McDaniels can't shoot.
no.
Rudy can't shoot. Randall's,
He's
yeah, he's
okay.
not a sniper.
No.
DiVincenzo isn't making shots.
Conley's not quite.
I
Conley's
don't
not what he
see
was. Yeah.
Connolly's not what it
He's
was.
not playing right now anyway. Yeah.
I don't see Nikhil being a shooter. He's a
No. He's
effective
a good
player,
player.
but he's a
Yeah. Right.
defender.
Right.
And Nas, I don't know. Nas becoming a 3-point sniper is one of the big shocks of my life. But he hasn't. The last week or so, they stopped
No.
falling for him, and he
Yeah.
missed one last night. So they're not a.
No.
The NBA is a shooting league now. That was the fewest points that Boston scored this year. 107 last night. That
Yeah.
was the fewest points they've
Wow.
scored.
Yeah.
So they got 5 shooters playing, and
Yeah.
Timberwolves have 2 max when they're playing. So
Yeah. Well, Ant's been shooting great this year, and that's the thing. Like
yes,
they've wasted some probably unsustainable Ant games from 3-point range, which is another concern. In
yes,
addition to losing, not just losing games, but losing two teams they should beat. So yeah, they're in a bit of trouble because the West is
Tough.
stacked.
Yes, the West is tough, and you better show up every night that you're at least at home. They got a 4-game homestand now. They better win three
Yeah,
out of four.
they better.
It's
Yeah,
not going. I mean, Houston comes in here and they're
they're
12-7 or something
good.
like that. So
Yeah.
they're not any cinch. But holiday season home games, they're probably filling up 4 times
Yeah.
too. The crowds have been
Yeah.
great. So
Crowds have been great. They'll hang with them. We'll still give them a little bit of time to figure this out. But man,
yes,
if we get to if it's like this after 30 games, then it's going to be like,
yeah,
okay, what are you doing at the trade
okay.
deadline? Because this ain't working.
Yeah, not only that, but it's okay, we're going to start spending our money elsewhere.
Right?
Meanwhile, the hockey team across town is unbelievable. The
Yes.
other night, they're down 3-1 with 2 minutes to go. I was at my granddaughter's
Mm-hmm.
hockey game, and her other grandparents are big Wild fans. And all of a sudden, Bill looks over and says, "They tied it in
Yeah.
the last
Boom,
two
boom.
minutes." They end
Yeah.
up getting another. I think they've only had one loss on the road this year, right?
Yes. I think they're 9-1-3. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they've only had one loss when they got
Regulation
no
loss.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's the season they've had. They're kind of like the Vikings. Now the Vikings are obviously more further
Yeah.
advanced in their season,
Right.
but we're getting to a point where we got to say they're pretty good.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Well, they're kind of like the Lynx, where I didn't have
Yeah.
nobody had expectations for the
No,
Lynx. And
that's
it's like
right.
they just kept winning and winning and winning. Like, okay, well, maybe we have to reset our expectations. It's the damnedest thing this year. It's like every team we thought was going to be good
Mhm.
hasn't been good, and every team we thought was going to be mediocre has been awfully good. Like we thought,
Yeah. Well,
the
don't
twins,
think.
the Twins and the Wolves had the most momentum coming into 24 from last year, and they both,
Yeah.
they both seem pretty.
Although I don't think we thought the Twins were going to be that good, but then for 3 months they played good, and we thought they were good. So
And they won a playoff series in 23, so everybody was excited at least.
Then they let Sonny go, and
yes, they didn't have
they
pitching.
they didn't have enough pitching, but they then they played good for 3 months. Yeah, they're pretty good. And just when we said they're pretty good, they went what was it, 12-27,
12-27 in their last 39. That's not good. That's not great. And
I'm sure the Turkey Committee will pay attention to that, but
so.
you can never be sure. We haven't had the vote yet, so things could be goofy.
Watch your dreams and savings grow with Royal Credit Union's 4.25% annual percentage yield 12-month certificate. Open now at any Royal office or online at rcu.org/certificate saver. Early withdrawal penalties could reduce earnings and principal. APY accurate as of 2/1/25. Insured by NCUA.
Does the Turkey Committee pay attention to soccer? We don't talk a lot of soccer here, but man, the Loons,
yes.
a good second half of the year, and they win a playoff round. But man, to go out 6-2,
and here's what the Turkey Committee now has to have one person specially assigned to them to tell you when they actually might be playing, because they want a playoff game. Oh, we'll see you in a month.
See you in 3 weeks.
The stupidest thing of all time. But they go out there last night. I can't watch them because you got to sign up for the special Amazon package, right?
The playoff. This was on FS1. You could have watched this.
Was it? I didn't know that. I thought I had to watch that on Amazon.
No,
because I was looking at Amazon to see if it was free, and it wasn't. I didn't know it was on.
The MLS is usually on Apple TV. Apple TV is the
Apple.
MLS
okay,
yes,
that's probably why I didn't find it on Amazon then. But anyway, they gave up a goal in like
first minute, 28 seconds. Yeah.
And then they tied it though, right? And it was only 3-2 at halftime, right?
3-2 at halftime.
And then they gave up another one.
Yes.
I know Jerry Zagota would loved his days at the being our Loons beat writer, but Marthaler, he's into it, man. He knows what he's watching, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And he was.
You know who else knows what she's watching when it comes to soccer? Our new
Cassidy.
Cassidy. She
loves soccer.
She uses the soccer lingo. That, she said. I remember she said, something about the 18. And I said, what's that? What's the 18? And she said, that's the big box, right? That's the big
Right.
box,
Yeah.
or
The
that's the
penalty area.
greatest, the
Yes. Yes.
penalty
The penalty
area.
area.
Okay.
I,
Yeah.
I made the mistake, poor Cassidy, when she was an intern. I wanted to have her on to just kind of talk about her intern experience. And we scheduled it for a time when it felt like it would be safe, but it ended up being like during like extra time of one of the women's Olympic games this
Oh,
summer.
really?
So she's like, hey, can I like we just like wait a few minutes? She's invested in. It's like, oh yeah, sorry, yeah. Like it's kind of happening while we're still talking because it went. I
How'd
think it
we do
went
over there in
overtime.
France in women's soccer? Did we
We
do
did
any
well.
good? Did we
Yeah,
get
we
a
did
medal?
well. We're
Did we get a
good. Yeah,
medal?
no, we were
Did we
good.
win it?
I think
Okay.
I don't know. So my memory's not what it used to be. Too many things happened, but I think they won it. I think they won this year.
Oh, did they?
I
Okay.
think they
Well, good
did.
for. Well, anyway, yeah. That's first of all, that league's they can only let FIFA have like two different periods of time. You can't let them anytime they're having what has been going on now with FIFA for these 3 weeks? What is this? This isn't
Another
World Cup stuff, right? This is more
no.
exhibitions. If you're calling it a friendly, I ain't sending my players to play for you, okay,
Right.
dummies?
Right.
They got to figure out something, man. They got to. This is ridiculous, and the answer certainly is not to be playing from November to March, else you're putting this team out of business, right? If
Yeah.
they're going to
Right.
go to the they're
Oh
going to
gosh, you
go
can't
to
do
the
that. Yeah, that would be
European
terrible.
model.
No.
They can't do it. But
Shiver
I
their
don't
way
know.
through it all. Yeah.
Anyway, the
Uh,
Looney Tunes out
the women did win,
6-2.
by the way. The women did win. They beat Brazil
Mhm.
1-0 in the final. First
Oh, good. We
first
always
goal
like
since
to.
2012. I thought I remembered that. There's too many things happen, Patrick. There's just too much
Yes,
that's
that's
happened
true.
between too much has happened between then and now. Do you watch any
And
prep
Paris,
bowl? I know you would.
the old Prep Bowl. I did not make it to the Prep Bowl, but I did watch it. But I was out at Minnesota on
Yes,
Wednesday. Went out to Minnesota, came back in a snowstorm. Didn't
yes,
I've only lived in Minnesota my whole life. I didn't check the weather forecast before I drove.
yes.
Two hours and 45 minutes to get out there, and 4.5 to get back.
Oh,
But yeah, it was great. And you go out there, and I could have written 100 inches. I had a lot more
oh yeah,
stuff than I ended up writing. But then they come back here and put up 70. You know what I noticed
yeah.
about the Prep Bowl?
Hmm.
Those teams that win, we don't have many upsets on
No,
the way to the Prep Bowl. I mean,
right.
those teams, the winning teams, were they all unbeaten? Were they all on Maple Grove was
Mm,
unbeaten, weren't they? Or did
I
they
think
lose
so.
one?
I think Maple Grove was unbeaten. I think Minnetonka had 2 losses going
Yeah.
in.
And Becker was unbeaten. And
Yeah,
do you know that I was talking to Chris Might, who was the quarterback, for
hmm,
Gerhardt when Minnesota won their first two, and then he
yeah,
coached at St. Olaf and coached with the Redskins for 1 year. They all got fired there, but and now he's coaching at Becker. His son played at Becker. Was
yeah.
one of the stars at Becker, and they live in Becker. He's an assistant coach at Becker. Becker was so small in the mid '80s. They played Minnesota.
Oh my gosh.
They were 1A, and
Jeez.
Dwight's been there long
Yeah.
enough for them
Right.
to go from 1A to
Wow.
4A and be probably one of the 5 best teams in the state.
Yes. Yes.
And I think this is year 53 for Dwight Lundy.
That's
He was a
amazing.
wonderful human
Oh,
being.
he's a character.
You know
Yep.
him. And he has no plans not to coach next year. So,
Well, if you're this good, you're having fun doing it. Why not?
yes.
Becker's a great place to watch a high school football game. By the way, one
Oh,
of those
God,
is kind
yes.
of just a
Yeah.
classic little setting.
Good
That,
food.
oh,
Good
the pork
food at the
chops,
concession
pork
stand. It's
chops, the pork chop
fantastic.
grill
Yes.
going. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
a
didn't get up there this year, but yeah, it is a great place, and he's just a hell of a guy. And he got to be 75 now, right? Something
I
like
would think
that, doesn't he?
if
Yeah,
this
he's
is year
52 or
53 in
3.
if this is year 53 in
Yeah.
coaching, if you work backwards and do the math, it's got to be somewhere around
Well,
there
and
with
it's
that.
funny when you go down to a place like Minnesota. Is the football coach Chad Johnston, 24 years. He coached girls basketball for 20 years and won 3 state titles.
Yeah.
He's now won 6 titles as the football coach, and he's now coaching boys basketball down
Wow.
there. But they have
That's
the same
amazing.
coaches, and they all coach 2, 3 sports, and
That's great.
it's It's just one of those little towns. I went over to Ghent, however, for lunch, and there was a bunch of guys playing cards. I was going to get a couple of quotes, and I told them I was from the Minneapolis newspaper, and I could feel the ice cubes falling off. I don't think they think we're proper. We have proper respect for the incoming president of the United States. I got a hunch. There's about 4 buildings in town, and one of them was the Trump Vance headquarters. There's 8 votes there. But so anyway, we didn't sit around and BS too long after that.
You
so,
got your food and got out of there.
The guys at the bar, I all bought them all a drink, though, so they liked me better.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
I had to buy a drink to that. Can I put that on my Star Tribune expenses?
You should. I think you should. It's Greater Minnesota.
Buy a couple of drinks out there, so I didn't get beat up on the way out of the bar.
For the Minnesota Star Tribune, you can do anything.
That's right. That's true. Anyhow, Prep Bowl is great teams winning it. Teams that really rolled through the year. Elk River, man, Elk River changed. Now it's changing the other way again. A lot of teams throwing the ball again. But Elk River changed high school football in Minnesota by running it 92% of the time.
Yes.
And a lot of teams went to that same tried to go to that same package, but nobody's done it as well as Elk River does.
They're great. They are great.
Yep.
Well, we look forward to Turkey of the Year, Patrick. We'll watch for that on Thursday, and we'll talk to you again next week. Take care, all right?
I was trying to explain it to the new administration that so there's some research is required here. So anyway, hopefully.
We'll try not to screw up the headline. Don't screw up the headline. Don't screw up the headline is the biggest thing.
One year we did that. One year they went online about 8 p.m. and gave away the winner, and that was
very upsetting.
Kind of defeated the whole purpose of the thing. But anyway, all righty, good enough.
All right,
see you,
Patrick.
Mike.
Thank you. Bye-bye.